Please get ready for a dictation of transcription number 388 and 389 from Sir Kailash Chandra magazine. 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make certain observations with regard to this bill, especially about the cooperative societies in Tripura. We are all in support of this bill because I think this amendment, or rather this repealing law, is necessary in view of the changed conditions there. But then it appears that the problems of the cooperative organizations and societies in these areas or states, Tripura and Manipur, cannot be solved merely by having a uniform set of cooperative laws. Laws are very important, and in that respect certain changes are undoubtedly called for. Here, sir, I would like the government to take note of certain things which are there at the moment in order that they may take steps to improve them. First of all, I should like to point out that the tribal areas, especially among the tribal people of Tripura, there is great need for expansion and development of cooperative societies. It appears that about 70%, according to my information, of the population are to be included or brought within the range of the cooperative societies. At the moment, cooperative societies are very few and they are not functioning well. Somehow or other, the bulk of the people have been left out of these cooperative societies. The most important function that the cooperative societies fulfill at the moment is, of course, the provision of rural credit, and there is no doubt that this is an important aspect of the work of the cooperative societies, and that has to be expanded. At present, people do not get adequate relief or rural credit through the agencies of cooperative societies, and so they remain more or less the victims of the traditional moneylenders of the countryside. Tripura or Manipur is no exception to the general rule that is prevalent in this regard. Therefore, it is important that the cooperative societies should be provided with adequate funds so that the credit needs of the people, especially of the very downtrodden people in the tribal areas, are adequately and promptly met. Next, about the management of the cooperative societies, I have to say that most of these societies are not run well. It seems that there is a lot of bureaucratic interference from the top, whereas the initiative at the bottom is not yet developed for the success of the cooperative movement in our country. It seems that the majority of the shareholders in Tripura cooperative societies do not take any interest in the affairs of the cooperative societies. It follows, therefore, that something is wrong in the management of the cooperative societies, which should explain why even the shareholders or the participants in the cooperative societies do not take part in the management of the affairs of the society. The government should pay attention to this aspect of the matter and see that the cooperative societies are not controlled by a coterie of people, but they are more and more controlled, and in a very good way, by the majority of the shareholders or the participants in the cooperative society. In this connection, naturally, the work of the cooperative department assumes certain importance and urgency. At the moment, it appears in Tripura especially that the cooperative department is not so much interested in getting the popular cooperation in drawing the people into the activities of cooperative societies as in somehow or other carrying on what they understand to be the more routine job. The result has been that the little that could be done with the existing setup is not being done, and there is considerable discontent among various sections of the people. I have been informed from there that some relief officers themselves occupy positions of chairmanship, vice chairmanship and secretaryship of all the societies, and the people are left in the background. That is to say, it is more or less taken for granted that these societies should be under the management of these officials, and it will be for them to lay down the lines and the policies of the cooperative societies. I think this is another matter which should be seriously considered by the government, whether even if this arrangement is permissible in law or under the rules, this arrangement is suitable or expedient in the situation in which these societies are functioning. In this connection, I may mention that in some cases, the loans are not being properly administered, and it appears that the wrong type of people are given loans, whereas the really needy people are denied what should go to them. The result is that the artisans and others have suffered, and the economy and the trade of this area have also considerably suffered as a result of the inefficient and inadequate administration of cooperative loans. I have got a number of examples, but I need not go into them here. It appears that certain concerns are being given loans because they are tied up with certain individuals, and it appears that it is done efficiently. Sir, it has been represented to the government that unless the act is brought into force, persons possessing certain licentiate qualifications and persons who are citizens of India possessing certain foreign medical qualifications which are not recognized under the Indian Medical Council Act 1933 will not be eligible for enrollment in the state medical registers. In the circumstances, government considered that the act should be brought into force without further delay. Already the delay has been too long. As soon as the new act is brought into force, the council constituted under the Indian Medical Council Act 1933 will cease to function, as there is no provision in the new act for continuing the existing council until such time as a new council is constituted under the act. Some time will necessarily have to elapse before a new council can be constituted, as it is not possible to hold fresh elections under Section 3 of the new Act before the Act is brought into force. I should like to inform the House, in reply to the query made by my esteemed colleague Dr. Dubey, that we think that about 6 months' time will be necessary, and that the prolongation of the life of the old council should not be for more than a period of 6 months, as it is desirable that there should be continuity in the existence of the medical council. It is proposed to provide for the continuance of the existing council after the commencement of the new act until the new council is constituted. This will enable the Government of India to enforce the new act immediately without awaiting the completion of the state medical registers by state governments. The enforcement of the act will also entitle persons possessing certain licentiate qualifications and citizens of India possessing foreign medical qualifications to registration in the state medical registers. Sir, when this bill was being considered in the Lok Sabha, the members who participated in the debate in that house thought that in view of the fact that the licentiates will get representation under the new dispensation, it should also happen that they get some representation on the Indian Medical Council as at present constituted, so that they need not wait for having their representation in the existing medical council whose life will expire immediately the new council comes into being. Sir, actually speaking, I feel that perhaps we might have come to the Parliament earlier, but in a matter of this kind where the cooperation of the states is entirely necessary, we cannot simply ignore their request for extension of time. We therefore waited, but then there comes a time when we can wait no longer. I think, sir, it should be defeating the purpose of the new act if we were to wait any longer. Therefore, we have come up with this enabling bill so that the Indian Medical Council as it existed under the old act will get out of existence immediately. This bill is brought into force, and that will happen immediately after the present bill receives the assent of the President. Now, I do feel that really there will be no difference of opinion about this amendment, which is absolutely necessary. There was, of course, another alternative which, however, the government did not like. There is provision in the Act saying that nothing done by the Indian Medical Council as constituted under the new Act shall be considered to be what might be called defective simply because the Council is not properly constituted. Under the provisions of that particular section, we could have just been content to go ahead with nominations, but nominations are to be made and gone on with the Indian Medical Council. It would not be complete but deficient in respect of the members to be elected on behalf of certain interests. But rather than do that, we thought that it was proper to have the Indian Medical Council in a proper manner to prolong its existence rather than take recourse to an expedient which was not satisfactory. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, I nearly a year and 8 months after the passing of the Act, the Health Minister at last comes and puts forward this amendment to the original Act to enforce the original Act. It took nearly 2 years for them just to think of enforcing it. Now, sir, when the original Act was brought before the House in the year 1956, some of the members wanted it to be referred to a select committee, and one of the pleas put forth against it by the then Health Minister was that it might cause some delay if it went to the select committee. Stop.